Welcome back to the Coming Out Happy podcast. We are your hosts, Danny and Keely, your LGBTQ plus life coaches. We're so glad that you're here. The Coming Out Happy podcast is here to help you reconnect with your authentic self so you can absolutely crush your love life.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you leave us a 5-star review or rating. And as always, welcome back to the show. Happy Friday.
Are you singing?
I thought I was going to sing like happy birthday.
Have a birthday.
You're better than I am. Let's hear it.
Happy Friday to you.
That was really good. I actually really like that. I feel
Thanks so much.
We're
never doing that again.
Oh, okay. I guess we won't be singing again. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad that you're here. Danny, why don't you turn your phone off?
Sorry about that.
If you are new to the podcast, I want you to know that we love to have a great time every single Friday with you all, where we're talking about new things, whether we're talking about healthy relationships, we're talking about being your most authentic self, telling our LGBTQ plus stories. All of it is just an amazing time.
We're here to make you feel good every step of the way. That's what we love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. A few housekeeping reminders before we get into our topic for the day. Something that you should know is if you're not already following us on Instagram at Coming Out Happy, you should go over there right now. Make sure you're following us because that's where we keep you up to date on all the events that we have coming up, all the great things that you can get involved with us. And also we release our podcast there. So make sure that you go do that. A few things is every single Monday, Danny and I go live, either with just ourselves and we have something planned for you every single Monday, or we have a special guest on Mondays. So make sure you catch our lives. They're at 3 p.m. PST every Monday. And then every Friday, our podcast comes out. And then something that we're doing at the end of this month, and this is the last one for a while, if you've been listening, maybe you have caught this before or you've attended, but this is the last one we're doing for a while, so make sure you get your ticket for the Dating Authentically AF Challenge. We're doing it one more time, baby, one more time. It's just been going so well, and I've been loving connecting with you all. So it's all about creating your dream relationship, what it looks like to have balanced and healthy relationships, and how it all starts with you. So we walk you through 3 days of our workshops and trainings, and you're part of our group, and we just dive in with you. So make sure you go to DannyMaxCoaching.com to get your ticket for that, April 30th through the 2nd? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. We're doing it a few different dates this month, but that sounds great, and so if you have any questions about that, send us a message on Instagram. But Danny, what's our topic today?
Today is all about balance in your relationship, specifically talking about being in, as we like to call it, give mode. I love that because I have been through this so many times in my romantic and platonic relationships where all it's been is me giving every ounce of myself to somebody else because I just wanted them to like me. What's your experience been like?
Yeah, my experience has been very similar to that, where I've completely given myself to everyone and I forget about me. And I think what happens too in romantic relationships is that, or even, platonic relationships as well, over time, many couples, they'll stop investing in themselves or each other, and then the balance is out of whack again, and this slowly kills the connection between two people. And I feel that, we have to find balance in our relationships, and one of the most important ways to find that balance is by connecting back to yourself, because sometimes we don't know what we need when we're not checking in with ourselves and we're not giving to every single person around us. So what was it like, Danny, in your life specifically, some of those examples of when you felt like the balance in your relationships was completely off, and why?
Yeah, so a lot of it stemmed from me, like I said, wanting to have the other person like me and want to be around me. So I thought that I had to bend over backward to get them to like me. So whenever they were available, I was right there. Like I can distinctly remember this one time where I was talking to this girl a long time ago, of course, Key. And she's like, we had plans one day, and she said that like she would let me know. And to me, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to make plans with me, like, I'll be there. I'm ready for it. But she just kind of, like, was going in circles about whether or not, like, she could hang out. And I was waiting by my phone the entire day, just waiting for her. And I remember how bad it felt. By the end of the day, it seemed like she just completely forgot about me. But I was so ready to be on top of that. And I don't know, it felt really bad that I was waiting around for somebody else to want to hang out with me, want to be with me. And it happened over and over and over again with similar situations such as that.
Yeah.
So there were so many times where I was waiting by the phone, where I was waiting and waiting and waiting for people to text me back, to call me back, to make plans with me. And it felt like I was just in a never-ending waiting game for no reason. I was not involving myself with people who actually wanted to give their time to me. It was with people who kind of made me a second thought.
Yeah.
But I was wanting attention from them so badly because I didn't see my own worth, my own value.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing so much of your story and being so vulnerable. I know that for me, it was, similar in that way, but when I was dating specifically, I remember being on dating apps and I would wait, I would be talking to, a few people or trying to figure out, just connecting with new people, and I would stop everything I was doing just to wait for their responses. I mean, has anyone ever felt that way, where they're just waiting and they put off everything they need to do? I remember I would shower, and I would just sit in my towel waiting for people to respond to me. That's a very, very vivid picture I just painted for you, but I really do remember that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting my whole entire day just waiting for somebody to respond to me because I feel like I need that validation. And that was a time where my relationships were completely out of balance because I wasn't connected to myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason.
There are so many different experiences I'm sure that we both have been through. Another one that I can imagine is when I was in relationships, it was always me checking in on the other person to make sure that they were okay. I remember doing that every single day. My feelings were not important to the other person, and obviously I was showing myself that my feelings weren't important either. But I remember constantly checking in on her and making sure everything I said or did was okay by her because I didn't want to rattle anything up. My feelings were not taken care of because I was so obsessed with making sure that the other person was okay.
Yeah, oh my gosh. No, I totally get that. And I guess to transition it just a bit, how do you think we have found balance in our relationship? Because obviously both of us have been in toxic relationships where there wasn't any balance, whether it was like in our dating lives or actually in a long-term relationship. What do you think? Because I guess I didn't really think about this when we were, when we first started dating. But what do you think it was that set up those boundaries for the balance that we have that's healthy?
Well, we set up those boundaries.
Yeah.
It wasn't as easy as just being like, okay, well, they're there. Like, we have to communicate.
But
and
we also both cared.
Yeah, we respected each other.
Yeah.
And that's something that I personally didn't care if the other person didn't respect me. I was still down for them as hard as a Leo would be, But
Danny's a Leo, I'm a Cancer.
Just in case anyone wanted to know that. But we respected each other's time and space and energy in a way that I had never found before because I was constantly chasing after people who did not respect me, which was everything that we talk about. Who we attract is a direct reflection of how we feel about ourselves. I was not respecting myself. I attracted people who did not respect me in the slightest. And I was so upset. I was wondering, why do I keep finding people who don't care about me, who care about my time?
Yeah.
But it was me. It was me.
I think when we look back on our relationships and why they were the way they were or why we felt the way we did, it's always a reflection of like how we actually felt about ourselves. And I know at that time period for sure that I did not care about myself. But when I started dating Danny, it was something different. Danny had spent 2 years before she met me completely working on herself and figuring out who she was and creating those boundaries with herself and the relationship she had around her. And I was just kind of getting into that. So I also remember in the beginning of our relationship, me trying to find the balance of how much I needed to like take care of myself as well. And that's something that I think is so important because if both people are not on board with that, it's not going to work.
There's a lot of disconnect.
Yeah.
When both people aren't on the same page with boundaries and respect.
Yeah, a lot of disconnect, and it creates this tension and, this rocky foundation. And I think the biggest thing is having that communication where you both can be vulnerable. I know that in the past I've had to walk on eggshells in relationships, and that made it really difficult to try and, have a conversation about something that was really important or something that I needed, because I was afraid to say what I wanted and I didn't really know what I needed, but I was afraid to say anything at all. And having that open communication is something that's so important for our balanced relationships in our life, and the ability to be vulnerable. And that's why we talk about, being your most authentic self. And that's why we just, share so much about it and how it pours into every area of your life. Because if you're not your most authentic self, you're not going to be vulnerable with who you really are. You're not going to be true about what you need and feel. And that makes it, difficult for relationships to have a long-lasting, solid foundation.
Well, because a lot of the time when you're not comfortable and confident in yourself, you don't feel comfortable and confident to speak up for yourself and to create boundaries and to do all of those things that we're talking about, because you're so focused on the other person. You're so focused on receiving love and it doesn't come from yourself, that it can be so easily brushed off. Settling for less than you deserve was my middle name for the longest time, because I didn't love who I was. And I wanted to let somebody else show me that I deserved love. But it was BS. It was genuine BS.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was waiting around for other people to want to love me.
But I think you didn't know any better.
Of course not. No, it's okay. It's okay that I was in that position. A lot of people are in that position currently.
Yeah.
And that's what, we're here to guide people with, is because
we only do the best with what we know.
Yeah, and it's okay. There is so much love that can be sent your way, but it starts with you. And because we've been there, we know how it feels. That's why we're here on this podcast together today.
Yeah, no,
But there's nothing wrong with that, and I just want to let you know, it just hurts. I remember how badly it hurt to be waiting around for other people to choose me, to be in an imbalanced relationship.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
Of course not.
Yeah, and what was the defining moment for you, Dan, where you felt, I can't do this anymore? Sorry, I kind of put you on the spot.
No, I've had a lot of those moments, and I'm always continuing to learn about those, because there's so many times in my life where I said, I'm done being treated like this. I'm done. And it hurts a lot. But not until it hurt the worst it ever felt did I decide, okay, you know what? I am really, really sick of doing this. I'm really sick of letting people walk all over me, for me to have to prove my love to people, have to do everything for everyone else. Being that great friend, that great person that they're talking to who can be left on the back burner. I don't want that.
That friend that people always go to for advice.
And no, well, that's okay. But just to not
when they never ask about you.
Yeah, to not get as much as we give is a really terrible feeling.
But we set that up, right, for ourselves. We're the only ones, and we sometimes think in our head, we're like, oh, yeah, I have boundaries, but they're unspoken. And the unspoken boundaries always get crossed over because you never said them out loud, or you never took action or did anything. I think even if you're not comfortable sharing your boundaries, something that I've learned is that, you can still do something with your actions, whether that's, you walking away from a conversation that, or not entertaining something of somebody says. So there's other ways to, become more comfortable with setting those boundaries in your life. And I think that's something that I started to do when I was navigating it and trying to figure out how to have those balanced relationships. But the most important thing I learned, and I was just actually talking to my mom about this the other day, I was telling telling her that, the more I work on myself and the more I grow into the person that I want to become and become closer to my most authentic self, I really notice that I have such a different quality of friend in my life and people as well in general, because I know that we're attracting, who we really are. And when you have those boundaries and you're sure in yourself and you're secure and all of these things, you attract very different people. And we've talked about this before, but would you agree with that, Dan, or what's your experience been?
What was your question again?
Uh-oh, you weren't listening.
No, you said you were talking to your mom and you attract who you are.
Yeah, and I notice a different quality of person in my life now that I'm working on myself.
You 100% change everything when you step into being the true person that you are. I've seen it happen in my life. Keely has seen it happen in her life.
What's it been like? But you've been on the outside of my, you've seen my journey from the beginning. What has it been like as an outsider watching that process?
Well, you've shifted from taking anyone in your life to having a better quality, more fitting person that you actually connect with, instead of attracting people who don't treat you right. Yeah. That's the difference. Everyone is I think could be a good person at heart, and I'm not saying anything about that, but the way that people treat you is drastically different now than in the past. People really have walked all over you. In the beginning of when I first knew you, they were doing things differently than how they are now. They know that they can't speak to you in a certain way that they were before, because you stand up for yourself.
Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to share is that sometimes you outgrow people, and that's okay too, because not everyone that's in your life is meant to stay forever. Not everyone's meant to, be a part of your whole journey. It's, some people teach us lessons and we grow and we learn from it, but that's
Especially
okay.
partners as well. Don't be afraid to let someone go if they're not the right fit for you.
You said something the other day. You said, don't be afraid to let go just because you don't want to start over. And I really liked that.
I want to dive into that in a new podcast.
Let's do that.
But I love that.
I'm going to write that down because I want to talk about letting go, even if, it's hard.
Because we use time as an excuse. We spent so much time on them already. All right, we're going to talk about it in a new podcast.
Yeah, we definitely will, because that's a whole topic that we can cover. So stay tuned for next week. But yeah, I really hope that today you took something from our conversation.
And maybe you're pinpointing where in your life you may need to reconsider your boundaries or the people that are currently in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope that you took something from it, whether it's from our stories or something that we said, whatever it is. We love hearing your responses. I know a lot of people have reached out recently about, stuff that they hear on the podcast and the biggest takeaway and how it's, applying in their life. And I love hearing that. Just to know that you're connecting and resonating. That's why we make these podcasts. That's why we have so much fun with you all every single week on Instagram and on the podcast and the lives and everything that we do. And I just really, really appreciate you. If you're listening to this right now, I want you to know that we care deeply and we're here for you, and you never have to feel like you're doing it alone, because that's what we're here for. And if you want more support, you can always reach out at Coming Out Happy on Instagram. We're here to chat with you. But yeah, don't forget, we'll kind of wrap it up for today. We have our challenge coming up April 30th through the 2nd, which is going to be so amazing. The Dating Authentically Challenge. We do touch on some of these topics and really go in depth with you, where you get a chance to have more direct support from us and see what it's like to just be a part of our world, which is really, really fun. But stay tuned for more stuff. I can't wait to get on the next podcast. I guess we already have our topic, Danny. But thank you all so much for listening. Again, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star review or a rating. We love seeing those comments and ratings. So we appreciate you all so much, and we hope you have a great day.